Okay, we had to take a little bit of a break from doing the tier list because we had, you know, Bazette come out, and then we had Valentine's, and then I summoned on the banner, and had a whole bunch of stuff happen. But we're back to try to finish off some of these tier lists. If FGO could stop dropping bombs every 2 seconds. I mean, they dropped Ereshkigal's buff yesterday, but I was like, you know what? No, I want to make the rider tier list. I love talking about, you know, all the different units, and ranking things is just really fun. So I'm just not going to talk about the Ereshkigal buff, all right? It's pretty good. You know, it's really solid. There you go. There's my take. Let's talk about the tier list because I love seeing the discussions in the comments down below. If you guys don't know how this works, because it has been about a week and a half since we did the last tier list video, essentially, you know, we're just going to rank all of the units by the end of 2023, meaning if a unit like Ereshkigal, who just got a buff over on JP, that doesn't count. We're going off of where they stand at the end of 2023 over on NA, because I like to go through these every single year and kind of see how the tier list change based on, you know, what new units come out, the different content that we get, and then just even playing with the units more, and my opinion on them changes. Like, for instance, I see Iskandar down there. Some people are probably going to think he's going to end up in D tier, but I've used him a little bit more, and I've kind of come around decently to him. He's not anything crazy, but, you know, there are units that I slowly come around to the more and more that I use them. So I do like updating these to kind of see where I value things, you know, and obviously you'll be able to make your own, as I'm going to put the link for the tier list down in the description and the pinned comment. So if you want to make your own and then post it in the Discord, by all means, go ham tar. Now, I don't believe I forgot anybody this time, because I think I did forget somebody in the Lancers, but you know, that's just that, you know, them just the breaks sometimes. But let's just start getting into this. Starting off with Medusa. Now, Medusa's not super crazy, but she does have a use for newer players. Having a small battery, being a free NP5 does mean for like caster dailies and farming doors really early on, you can probably get some use out of Medusa. She also has the stun, which might help you out in some bosses early on, but let's be realistic, Medusa definitely needs a lot. You know, I was really hoping that for the Stay Night celebration that was going on JP right now, that they were going to give people like Medusa, Medea some buffs, because they could really use it, but she at least has a use, right? Like, you could break out Medusa and get some value as an early player. I guess even if you're more of a veteran player and you just really need a low-cost person to like raw farm, you know, not even double Scotty, just bringing units with starting gauge plus CE, maybe, you know, she's cheap, she's got some value there, I suppose. George is very hard to rank because George on his own is very solid. You know, actually, because of his bond CE, I'm actually going to bump him up to B, because George, primarily for a lot of people, you're probably going to bring him at level 1 as a solo unit, which I do think is valuable, because soloing a lot of bosses is very viable in the game, and having units that just have a free taunt and are easy to get rid of are they're just nice to have. But George also having a 3-turn taunt, the guts, and when he does go down, he gives the party invincibility, that's also not nothing. So he's one of those guys, kind of like Leonidas, that he can be a taunter for doing solos, but if you choose to bring him, you can actually get arguably more value out of him in helping your solo servants out. Plus, he could turn people into dragons, which is still really, really funny. Is it the most viable thing anymore? Probably not, but is it still funny? Of course. Blackbeard I kind of see in the same vein as, say, Medusa. Maybe like a little bit better. I think his damage is slightly higher than Medusa's, but, you know, he's just like an AoE clear. He's a 2-star, so his stats are a little bit lower, but it's still enough to get the job done if you need him. The, like, infinite stackable guts is very hilarious. I don't think it's the best thing, you know, ever. I mean, if it was the best thing ever, then someone like Rasputin would be in, like, EX tier, you know what I mean? Like, people would really have a high opinion of him, because he could do the same thing, but, you know, Rasputin ends up just being, like, pretty decent. Same thing for, I guess, Blackbeard as a more, like, low rarity unit. Now, this might be the first controversial take, but I am going to kind of put Boudica above these guys, because you will kind of power creep out your need for these two. Like, you won't need them as much the more and more better units you get. But Boudica is kind of weird, because if you have the right setup, she can actually be kind of nice. You know, she just gives decent buffs to the entire party, but giving the entire party the Roman power mod, when we're unironically but in Lilim Harlot, we're going to get a decent setup for that, because you get a command code that lets you put Roman on anybody. So even outside of, say, the Romulus setups where, you know, you can get even more power mod bonus, it's like kind of a thing you could do. I'm not saying it's good, but I'm saying that it's hilarious. It's something funny you could do, and I think that gives her a little bit of extra viability. Not to mention her NP is a good defensive NP. It's kind of like having Mash too, which, you know, is not nothing. I don't think she's crazy, but we're talking about low tier units that I do think have some very, very strong value. Ushi's probably going to get me a bit of flack because I don't quite rate her as high as a lot of other people do. I think she's really good. B tier is not bad. This just means they're a solid unit. The only thing that I think is holding Ushi back, and it's a massive thing, it's her hits. She really wanted to get that buff where they were talking about in like year 5, where they were going to buff the hits of some of these year 1 units, and Ushi suffers so greatly from that because her skills are so strong. I mean, she's giving attack, quick, NP gain. She has insane star gen potential, has a dodge. Like, she's got everything you would want a solid DPS to have, especially as a free-to-play unit. It's just, she really needs to get those hits buffed. I mean, her damage is solid enough for a 3-star. I just think they need to give her something. I don't think it would be a problem if they gave her, say, like the Masashi double hits buff. You know, I don't think we need to have that just be exclusively a Masashi thing. Yes, it's because of her, you know, sword style and everything, but for some of these early units, especially because, you know, Ushi's a pretty skilled swordsman in her own right, you could give her something like that and it would dramatically help her out. It would make her so nice on, you know, the following, you know, quick and arts cards that follow her NP and helping her refund, because that can be a bit inconsistent in my experience because, you know, she just doesn't have those crazy good hits. But I do use her still all the time. She's very, very fun to use, especially if you don't want to use like one of the more insane people over here. You know, you're like, I don't want to trash the quest with Ozzy. Maybe I'll bring Ushi because, you know, she's adorable. She's still very, very viable. Like, I think if they're in B or B+, you could definitely still use them and be absolutely fine. You know, I'm even planning on grailing my Ushi on JP. So don't, like, take this as, like, me being malicious. Like, I do like using Ushi. I just think they could probably toss her something to make her a bit better. Alexander, I really don't see a whole lot of use for him. You know, you'll have some people say that, like, well, he gives like a quick buff and he gives the attack buff, so technically he's like a pseudo quick buffer, and that was pretty good during like year 1, arguably getting phased out into year 2, but it's just not something that's needed anymore. You could try to use him as, say, like a wave clear like you could Medusa, but he's lacking in the battery. And then even on top of that, he doesn't have like a funny gimmick you could maybe exploit, like the Blackbeard Infinite Guts, for instance, that might be able to win you something, right? Especially if you can get your hands on something like Necromancy, which, to be fair, is a 4-star CE, right? The fact that it's something you could pull off, like it's a gimmick for sure. It's not very good, but you could at least do it, as opposed to like, we have Scotty, and we're going to get Ruler Scotty. Someone like Alexander being a pseudo quick buffer is just not needed. Marie, I was gonna put her in D tier, but I thought about it a little bit more. She does have like the good survivability. She's pretty tanky, she heals. And so if you're early on and you just need somebody that's a good survival servant, I don't know why you would use her over Ku. Maybe you just particularly are having trouble with a caster boss, and, you know, her taking resisted damage and doing extra damage is more helpful to you. I mean, her damage is really bad in and of itself, so I don't think that's going to be the problem. But if you need a good early survival servant and you don't want to use Ku for some reason, maybe you just want to use Marie because she's cute, I don't know. But she at least has some viability. Like, you can get some mileage out of Marie in the fact that she's a good tanky survival servant. Martha, I think, is a little bit more useful than Marie. Even to this day, you'll still bring Martha because of, I believe it's the second skill, that is the party-wide debuff cleanse. Just having that on demand is crazy. It was really good during, I forget which demon pillar it was, but there was a demon pillar that, you know, debuffed the entire squad, and then you could remove it with that. And even now with the current raids, as we were doing the Tugunska Sanctuary ones, Martha was in a lot of those team setups, and it's just icing on the cake that she also lowers enemy defense. So not only can she help you really subvert a lot of these very annoying gimmicks for boss fights or raid farming, the fact that she also lowers defense to provide extra damage as well is more than, it's just very, very useful. It's a very nice servant to have. Now, are you going to suffer if you don't have Martha? No, because you don't have to farm that raid, right? Or when we have like a quest that comes out, you know, there are other servants you can use. There are numerous DPSs nowadays that have their own debuff cleanse or debuff immunity. Castoria exists, but just having it on demand on a skill, I think, deserves a little bit of extra of a little bit of a bump over here, because you'll still probably break her out. Now, it is a little bit awkward seeing her and Boudica, because I think Martha's more usable than Boudica is, but I'm not budging on the Boudica one. It's very funny. If you haven't done it, trust me, go do it once, toy around with Boudica, and then you'll understand and be like, oh, never mind, he was right. This is hilarious. Moving into Drake, dude, Drake is absolutely insane. Like, I mean, I don't know what you want me to say. I mean, Pierce Invul for challenge quest, 50% battery for farming and challenge quest, double buffs herself, NP gain buff, bomb stars on not only her third skill, but also her NP, I believe. Just a lot of good stuff. Like, Drake is just doing everything right. The only thing she's lacking is what? A hard survivability skill, like a dodge or an invincibility. But to be fair, I mean, you're either going to 3-turn the enemy with Koyenskaya, because that's the whole name of the game, is beating people up in 3 turns, or you're going to have Merlin, where not having your own survival skill is whatever, because Merlin is going to give you heals, he's going to give you invincibility, and God forbid you also bring like a friend Castoria or something to do the Castoria Merlin combo, you're going to be absolutely checked out for the fight. So her lacking survivability, sure, it doesn't make her a perfect EX tier unit, but she's still very, very strong in her own right. I'm just still of the opinion that I just do not like the whole 1 HP gimmick. It's just not something you want to be doing. Like, they keep giving these 1 HP units, they give them guts and stuff, but it's just not something you want to be doing. You do not want to be trying to live out here at 1 HP, because then you're going to get capped. You're going to get obliterated. And so I just don't see it as something that's very viable. I mean, the closest you really get to that viability is someone like Ashvataman, whose kit does not revolve around being at 1 HP, but it's just a gimmick he has that the deeper he gets into the fight, the more damage he's going to do. And he's like one of the few ones that I think kind of does it right. Hijikata, they're slowly turning into like a pseudo support DPS kind of thing. And so I think he's kind of getting there, but the Anne and Mary ones, I just do not think it's a very good strategy that you want to be doing. Like, sure, can you do really good damage? Of course you can do really good damage, but you want to have like other units. Like, for instance, I know she's a 5-star compared to a 4-star, but someone like, you know, Maid Alter, who can like do damage, but also has like other little gimmicks going on with her, you know, being able to reduce her skill cooldown and all that good stuff, right? Like, you could do the damage without having to have like a 1 HP gimmick. You can have a different gimmick that's a bit better. The Santa Alter, like, I really don't think she's actually all that good. I mean, she got a buff recently on JP that certainly helps her out a bit, but surely because she's a free NP5 and you can do good damage with her, surely she's at least C tier in that there's some level of usability there. She can do really decent damage, I suppose, but that's really all you're able to do with them. Astolfo, I do think actually is fairly useful. A lower rarity unit, and I'm saying low rarity as them being a 4-star, but a lower rarity, not a 5-star, that is on every single banner, that's packing a 50% battery and can do decent enough damage, gets 3 dodges on their NP, still has the stun, and kind of has a little bit of a crit damage niche with the 3rd skill. I think that's decent. I don't think Astolfo is particularly crazy, but I think if you're early on, getting a unit like him that has the 50% battery can be very useful, right? And he was one of those servants for me that early on did provide a lot of use. He's definitely fallen off a lot, but I could see someone holding him a little bit higher than some of the other lower rarity, you know, or lower tiered riders because of that 50% battery. And that is very, very helpful. You know, it's not only helpful for farming if you have to just do raw battery farming before you get your main support type unit like Castoria, Koyenskaya, Oberon, your Scotties, people like that. Having somebody that has a 50% battery, and you can get something like Dragon's Ravine that's a 3-star CE, that can be very nice for helping you wave clear. Again, also can be kind of decent into boss fights if, you know, you want to use the triple dodge to keep himself safe, and, you know, the stun is fine. He's fine. He's okay. Maeve, Maeve might be going up in the EX tier. Every time I use Maeve, she just gets better and better. I mean, like, what's not to love about this unit? They support Fae and males, which, just think of like all the good male servants in the game, but think of all the good phase as well that she's giving, you know, NP and attack and HP and just all this crazy stuff to. I mean, that's like your Barghest, your Melusines, you're bringing your Siths, who are all like really good units that would like to be paired with Maeve. You know, they would like all their buffs. They're all really good into challenge quests. And then she herself, if you want her to be the main DPS, dude, I mean, she's got the anti-male power mod that's very decent. I mean, there's a very decent chunk of male bosses in the game. I really don't have a whole lot of complaints with Maeve. I think she just does everything like very, very well. I mean, even the charm is even good as well. I don't really have any complaints with Maeve. I think the only thing is I'm gonna have to decide between her and Ozzy, which just for now, I'm gonna stick them both up in that EX tier because I'm gonna have to decide who's gonna sit in EX because there can only be one, all right? I can't have two single target Buster Riders there because one of them has to be better, but man, they're both really good because in the way that she gives very strong buffs to Male and Phase, Ozzy doesn't do as much, but he does it to everybody, right? Like 20% battery, gives the attack, gen stars, gives crit damage, gives the buffs, actually, I think just because of that stuff, and then he has Imperial Privilege. I think I'm gonna give him the edge on that one, yeah, because I'm thinking more general buffs, and they're all just very nice things. And then bro having Imperial Privilege and just getting 44% attack and, you know, defense and a heal, he's just super tanky. He NP seals on his NP, makes the sunlight battlefield and reduces his skill cooldown so he can get back to not only doing more damage, but also still supporting the party with his own buffs. And he does the thing that I like, where a DPS doesn't say give a Buster buff to your Merlin. He gives Merlin NP. Like, he charges everybody's battery by 20%, and I think that's way more impactful than giving them like a Buster buff or a crit buff, which he still does, but I like that he's also giving the NP. I think that's very, very valuable. Although, do keep in mind, if you're going to comment and say that you like Maeve better than Ozzy, it's interchangeable to me. They could, either one could be EX in my opinion. They're both really, really strong. Iskandar, I do think gets saved from being in C tier from being in D tier, just for the fact that I think he's going to be at the very end. He like borders D and C because he really doesn't have a purpose, but his damage is insanely high. Like, we do have to acknowledge that this guy can chunk people for a massive, just bootylicious amount of damage. Like, this guy can do damage like nobody's else. And then he drops a lot of stars and he has a crit buff now, so he's kind of got a bit of a crit niche. My only issue is that his third skill is only 1 turn, and I would like the Buster buff, you know, we could up that up to 3 times for 3 turns, but that crit star gen buff that he gets on his third skill, having that up with his NP is super, super impactful. Sure, you don't have to give him a battery, we don't have to make him, you know, Drake 2.0, but if we could maybe fix up the third skill a little bit to give him a little bit more longevity, and maybe able to do the star bomb thing a little bit more often, which, you know, you can do with Koyan Sky, but I'd like him to be a bit more self-sufficient, you know, and being able to kind of handle it himself. I don't think he needs a battery or anything. We could just punch up some of his other skills, although I think, you know, obviously the best thing to do is probably give him a battery, but I do think the guy just does such an absurd amount of damage and does drop a lot of stars on the NP that you got to shout it out a little bit. Kentucky Rider is still just very, very nice. Although, I think with the advent of somebody like Rider Liz, we do have now a better free-to-play, you know, single target Rider person out here. But Kentucky Rider, you can't really go wrong with him. I mean, he's a 50% battery. He like stacks the quick buff, and that's it. Like, he can loop his NP just fine. I mean, is it really basic? Yeah, but I brought Kentucky Rider to go beat up Demeter, so sometimes, you know, just being very simple can get the job done. You know, Demeter's like this infamous boss that everybody like cries about. I brought Kentucky Rider and just cleaned her up. Just wasn't even all that difficult, so we just cleaned her up. So I was like, hey, you know what? Sometimes just having good things, just having a 50% battery and a decent card buff is all you need. Would I like them to buff the third skill so he maybe, I don't know, gets crit damage or something? Probably, but he's still fine the way he is. The only thing that I think gives Rider Liz more of the edge is that, I mean, she's rocking, like, the power mod. She doesn't have the 50% battery, but she has the 30. I mean, she's got the invul. She's just got what I would consider to be a better kit. She has, like, demerits that you could say, you'd be like, well, she has demerits on her skills. She's gonna 500, like, who cares? 500 poison, nobody cares, right? She has the debuff cleanse anyway. She'll take care of it. So I think we have a new strongest single target Rider. I think if you still believe that Kentucky Rider is better than Rider Liz, you're kind of living in that year one delusion of like, oh, well, this guy was good back then. You have the nostalgia glasses on. We're getting better units, right? Like, that's just kind of how these mobile games work. You get better and better units as time goes on, but I still think he holds up very, very well. I mean, just very simple buffs are going to be very good. If you just do one thing very well, you'll always have a point. But, you know, Rider Liz, I would say her kit is more complete. Rider Mordred. Rider Mordred's very awkward because I think I'm going to meet myself in the middle because I really like using Rider Mordred. But there is the problem that her damage is really doo-doo stinky. Her, like, at NP1, her damage is not good. I mean, she has the problem that I referenced, that she will loop 100% of her battery back. She just won't kill the enemies, right? And you need to do both. You can't loop your NP back and not kill the enemies. You kind of do need to do both. Now, that can be helped out a little bit with, say, Black Grail and Oberon, you know, that can help out a little bit, but she's definitely one of those units that if you want to start getting that, like, A-tier performance out of, you gotta go for higher NP copies. You gotta go get more copies of her, right? But other than that, I mean, her kit is solid. I mean, she's rocking the battery, a decent enough arts buff. She has decent survivability as well if you want to bring her to more difficult content, and her being able to loop her NP all over the place is good, but I'd like to see them probably chuck maybe an NP buff to her so she gets the higher scaling, and then maybe, I don't know, chuck an attack or NP damage buff on there just to help her out a little bit so NP1's not so dead in the water. Quetzalcoatl. Ketz I still think is solid, but I think she's slowly starting to fall off. I still use my Ketz every now and then, but it's starting to feel like they really favored giving stuff to Ozzy and Maeve over here, and Ketz is just kind of not getting the same stuff. I mean, they fixed up her charisma and made it a star bomb, which is really good. She still, I mean, NP seals on her own NP. She has the battery and, you know, decent crit damage, but some of her buffs are only one turn, which is a little bit annoying. She does still have, like, the whole gimmick of being able to target and, like, give people buffs as well, on top of giving the charisma, which is nice, but I do think we're starting to see her fall off a little bit. But if I'm kind of thinking about where they kind of stand, I don't think she's so much worse than them that she has to be in, like, you know, B or C plus tier, but I do think she's, like, a little bit better than someone like Ushi, so I'm going to put her in B plus, but I don't know, like, if I'm thinking, do I bring Kentucky Rider or do I bring Quetzalcoatl? I'm probably going to bring Kentucky Rider. You know, for all the bells and whistles that she has, sometimes just being super simple might be good enough. And then if I, you know, have Maeve or Ozymandias, I'm probably going to bring them way over bringing Quetzalcoatl because they just do more for the party. Dude, I want to put Columbus in EX tier for the memes, but realistically, Columbus, he's you know, he's an okay guy. Maybe not that crazy. I'm just gonna put him next to the early wave clears. He is story locked though, I believe. Hold on, let me double check. This is why I have this pulled up so I can remember. Columbus, Columbo, where am I blind? Where are you, dog? There you are. Yeah, okay, you are story locked. Okay, see, I have it pulled up just in case I forget. Because I'm like, I feel like Columbus is story locked, because I'm pretty sure mine on NA is only like NP2 or something, because I've just never summoned on a banner that has Columbus on it. But he gives me the same vibes as like early wave clear people, but once you start getting better people, you know, like your Drakes, you're probably going to use them more. Maid Altar. Maid Altar's... I would say if you don't have Scotty, she probably feels like she's more of like a B tier unit. But if you're using her with Scotty, then I think she's like a solid, like probably sitting in A, because Scotty definitely fixes a lot of her problems. She's still, I would say, lacking a buff. I couldn't really put, like, I couldn't discern what I would want to give her, because obviously good things are like power mods, giving them more offensive buffs, giving them something survival, giving them a huge battery. Those are all like really good things, but I still want her to retain like a, I don't know, like a semblance of her own identity of being this like loop the big quick buff type person, right? I wanted to kind of retain that a little bit, but that's kind of the main draw for her, is that you can do really big damage by looping her quick buff. And, you know, Scotty helps her with all of her NP refunding issues, because without Scotty, you know, if someone tells you, oh, no, she's perfectly fine, doesn't need Scotty, they're delusional, okay? They're delusional. Her NP refund is not all that great if you do not have Scotty. But Scotty definitely helps her out a lot on that, which is why I'm like, if you don't have Scotty, she probably does sit around more in B tier, because you definitely just have better options at that point. But if you have Scotty, she definitely feels like a solid A tier unit. I might just meet myself in the middle then, since I do think she is really, really relying on you having Scotty on your account. So I'll probably meet myself in the middle there. You're just still a solid free-to-play. I mean, you can quick loop with her. That's probably all you're really going to use with her. The fact that she does give you the like the quick and NP gain buff, though, can be kind of nice if you're trying to do like some type of quick or arts looping and you want her to like clear a wave and your main guy needs a bit of an NP gain buff. I remember doing that because I only had like I didn't have my own Scotty during Scotty meta, and so I would use Space Ishtar plus Lancelot on like Berserker nodes, and so she would take a node, and then Lancelot would take the other 2 nodes, and getting a little bit of like the NP gain buff was also kind of nice, and ensuring that we could loop things back. So I was like, it was kind of fine, but really at that point, if you're using 2 AoEs, you're probably going to be able to farm anything anyway. But it's like, she could be decent enough. I remember using her against casters. I mean, she farms fine against that, go figure. So decent enough, free to play. You can use her as a quick looper. I don't really see very many uses though outside of that. All right, Ivan is like really crazy. Ivan is like really nuts, and nobody will talk about it. I don't know why. We're all just capping. We're all just yapping around and just being like, oh, Ivan, that guy, he's not good. No, Ivan is ridiculous, right? And this is why I have this like other thing pulled up over here, because I know Ivan is one of those guys that I have to like show people how good okay, he doesn't have this yet on NA, but even still, look, even before he has this, which is a whole bunch of nonsense, bro still has his own debuff cleanse. He has a huge McChungus NP gain buff over here. This is good. Like 40% buster when you usually get 30% for 3 turns is nice. Provides its own stars, which is also good. Invul removes all the enemy's buffs, and then like lowering their attack is whatever, but these are crazy, right? This is nuts. And then he's stacking damage on no. Then he's stacking damage on actually no, we do have this one. Yeah, he's stacking his damage over here. And then he has, I don't know, a little bit of Oberon synergy, I suppose, because he gives himself 30% NP damage. Like, this guy is good. This guy Ivan is good. And then he's just gonna get better. I know we're not talking about their the buffs they're going to get, but when this guy gets the power mods, dude, he just becomes even better, right? Bro, he's just insane. I'm tired of people yapping and talking like this guy's not good, right? Just because you don't like Dark Souls, all right? don't at me, all right? Achilles. Achilles is weird because obviously you could use him as a quick looper, but who wants to be doing quick looping? Outside of that, the taunt and the invincibility, I guess, are kind of nice going into more difficult content. Having the battery can help out as well. Do I think you're like an A-tier unit though? Nah, I don't think so. Like, I think you're like the next step above her as a rider unit, but I don't think it gets much more crazy than that. Mandricardo is not. Can't believe I just called Realm. I can't believe I called him Mandricardo. Anyway, Ryoma. Ryoma, I mean, he's like a free-to-play DPS support. He gives the battery, gives the arts, gives the attack buff. That's nice. That's all fine and dandy. He also has an effect that I do like on arts NPs where he takes away enemy NP gauge, which is nice on more like spammable NPs. And he was decent. I believe you could use him for the 90++ for the most recent lotto over on JP. So it's not like he doesn't have uses, but Realm is like not all that great. Like Realm, please give this guy a bit more. They tried to buff his NP, but bro could probably still use a little bit more help. Red Hair, I think, is decent as like a DPS unit for you free-to-play players, but I still think most of the times you're going to be picking Ushi, so I'm probably just going to slot him a tier below Ushi, because I do think you'll just use her, probably. She's also just easier to use. Technically, you could say that someone like Red Hair is probably better than Ushi if you look at their kits, but I still think you're just going to use Ushi like 9 times out of 10. She's just so much more simple to use. You just click her skills and then just have at it. I mean, of course, like the good, I mean, Waiver 2.0 going into EX. Whoa, who could have seen that one coming? Oh, yeah, and then she's also going into EX. We just have all these straight bangers back to back. I don't know. Do I really have to justify Da Vinci Rider? Do we know what this lady does? I mean, like giving the NP damage, giving the NP, refunding NP, honor NP for the whole party, and then giving herself NP every single turn. It's just NP spam the character, which is so nice in art setups because you're primarily going to be using Castoria, Lady Avalon, and Tamamo, and all 3 of those have banger NPs that she's going to help you spam. So go figure. She's really good. Dude, I don't even know how to rank Bartholomew. His gimmick is beating up other bronze servants, but does that really matter for even like the most free-to-play players? Maybe that's a gimmick. Maybe that's good because I've used them a little bit, and with this gimmick, fine, it's whatever, but I just, it's so hard for me to find a reason why I would bring him over some of the other units that you would eventually get access to. I mean, I guess, like, it's a gimmick that'll come up for free quests, and he'll do more damage than these guys fighting the Bronze Servants, so I guess he has, like, a gimmick that makes him better, but I don't know. I'm not a huge Bartholomew believer, but shoot, we'll put him up there because he has a gimmick that technically is good. You know, you might run into low rarity servants in free quests or whatever, or in some event, you know, like Leonidas might be the boss for a free quest, and you could bring this guy. But I don't even know if he could kill a neutral Leonidas at 200k. I still don't know if he could actually take that guy out, like without grails or like gold foe investment. I don't know if he could do that. So I don't know. I don't feel very confident putting him up in C+, but I'm just, because maybe for players that are like super free to play, they don't summon on anything like with Saint Quartz or like that's like actually gacha related, they only do friend point stuff, maybe that's where he has like a really strong niche, but I feel like that's even pushing it. Camilla Ryder is kind of unfortunate. She's like a debuff Andy servant. I think you can use her to loop if you try really hard, because I've tried and mixed results, we'll say. Especially at NP1 where her damage is not very good. But I mean, the debuffs are nice, but I think she's suffering in the same way that Sith is suffering, in that you typically want someone that is self-buffing, because if you have a very debuff-reliant servant, you're going to whiff a lot of those debuffs, especially on bosses where you want to use someone like Ryder Camilla, and that they might have very high debuff resistance, or they might just be straight up immune to the debuff she's going to be applying. But if you can start landing the debuff, she might feel closer to like a BB plus servant, but I don't know, man. We're starting to get like stronger and stronger bosses that are just starting to stack more and more annoying gimmicks that I don't know if just relying on the raw debuffs is going to be good enough. Mandricardo, I think, is just like Arts Ushi, but maybe a little bit better. I know there's a lot of people that want him to be able to on-demand access his second skill. That would make him nice and kind of being a single target version of Arash. That could be really good. But as it stands right now, I think it's fine. You know, it's whatever, because even if you don't have access to the second skill, you know, you could say, well, realistically, he's just a servant with 2 skills, but they're 2 decent skills. I mean, they just give him everything he would need. He's got like attack, defense. He's got the arts quick buff. He's fine. He's chilling. Again, he's just like Arts Ushi. Europa's really weird to rank because like you could use her as like a buster farmer, but I don't know, like her kit, I think she's undersold a little bit because she has like the triple invul, which is nice with her NP, and what is it, her first or second skill, she has 50% buster, which is very nice. And then she has like the party-wide charm, which can be very good. I mean, like, her skill set is decent, but it's not really breaking records, or it's not blowing me out of the water or anything. It's just, she's a decent servant, right? Like, she's very middle of the pack, very inoffensive. She just does a lot of things decently, right? Like, especially the triple invincibility, I think, is very strong. Having the triple invul that is not turn-based could be very helpful, but I don't know. We're probably still waiting for, like, a buff or 2 before she starts rising to, like, insane heights. I kind of feel the same way about Odysseus, right? Like, because again, remember, like, B tier's not like bad servants, but they're just like solid, decent servants. And Odysseus, I think, between, you know, the charm and having the double card buff and, you know, the battery and everything, it's very similar. It's just, in fact, I actually might bump down Achilles because these 3 almost feel the same in like Buster Quick, Buster Arts Quick. Sorry, I'm messing up all over the place today. They're all the AoE riders of the different types, and they're all just very solid, and not inoffensive, but not crazy good either, right? Like, they're not, like, insane or anything, but you can get good mileage out of them if you want to use them, right? I mean, like, Odysseus, like, they all have, I mean, for that matter, they all have, like, a decent battery. They've all got their card buffs. They've all got decent survivability. They can all do their own form of looping. It's just, you have better options, in my opinion. Murasaki, I do like Ryder Murasaki. I think she's very fun to use, but I think we're starting to move into the same problem as Ryder Camilla over here, where she's very debuff oriented, and that's just starting to slowly become less and less good as time goes on. Nemo is really hard for me to rank, man. Because Nemo has like 75 different variables. Are you fighting on water side? Are you fighting in void space? Are you fighting a giant? Like, it's just so many different things. I mean, if you look at him on like charts and everything for people trying to calc his damage, it is all over the place. And, you know, then he's getting different buff types, but depending on where he's fighting and who he's fighting and all that stuff. But I think in general, Nemo is just a solid unit all around. It feels really weird for him to be right next to Kentucky Rider, but maybe I'm being a little too generous for some of the A+ people. So, like maybe I could like bump these guys up to like A, right? And then maybe it like kind of looks a little bit more normal, right? I mean, okay, funny enough, when we do that, we have the same dynamic with these guys, just with single target arts, quick, and buster. I think this might like look a little bit more better. Like this might actually look a little bit better because he's just like a very, very strong servant. And I think even without getting all of his buffs, if you're not fighting on water side, you're not fighting in void space, you're not getting the power mod, you're still going to get good damage out of him and you're still going to get a decent performance. I like the whole idea that he has a guts that gives him an initial battery, but then if that guts gets popped, he gets a second battery to further clap up the enemy. It gives him that really good longevity type feel when going into longer fights. So I do like using Nemo. I think he's fairly solid. Habitrot is just... like, how could I not put Habitrot all the way up here? How could we not smack her up there? Habitrot with like the 80% battery, good arts buff, and then as a targetable buff that gives you a smorgasbord of effects and then lets Habitrot dip out. Being able to dip out is always very, very strong. You know, someone like Arash kind of set the precedent that if you can low tier god yourself, you can, you know, it's very strong in FGO. You know, being able to get a free plug suit essentially. And so Habitrot being able to probably wave clear because of the 80% battery, free NP5, and then dip is just very strong. I think it's very, very good. I think if I'm actually looking at this, maybe we'll just do that. Maybe that fills that out a little bit better. I think I like this a little more. Rider Canis. All right. Some people might disagree with me on this one. I think Rider Canis gets a little bit too much hate. She could definitely get like a very good crit niche like building up if you start getting enough NPs. And while I do feel like she's lacking just things in her kit, like they almost shipped her when she was incomplete, you can still get some good value out of Canis and just critting people into oblivion. And so yeah, I think she's decent. I think like she literally does fit the mold of like a B tier solid unit. Okay, Taigong. Well, Taigong, you're definitely better than Achilles. I'm actually probably going to bump you up into this tier. I think Taigong is really good. I don't know if I really have to sell him too much because we just talked about him like 2 months ago when he came out for Tugunska Sanctuary, but having 2 power mods and one of them being Divinity that he really Tim Tam slams into the ground, plus having, you know, like the 50% battery and just having good damage overall, I think is solid. I mean, plus he gives the triple buff to the entire party on the first kill. That's not nothing. That's really good. Being able to triple buff people, I think, is very insane. In fact, for one of the lotto nodes recently, I think I did like a double Taigong setup over here, and I think it was actually pretty fun. I was like, oh, you can just do double Taigong because they're just throwing buffs and battery at each other, so they just keep annihilating the enemy. It's pretty funny. Nikitich, I'm gonna put her in B+. This might be a little bit of a bias for me, and I know that unlike these guys, she can't do farming because she only has a 20% battery. But if you look at her kit is really good if you want to go beat up some bosses. You know, like she's pretty much got everything you would want a good DPS servant to have. She's got good power mods. Like, she is good. You just gotta like unshackle from the farming, you know, mindset for a little bit and realize that outside of that, she's very strong, right? If she could farm, would she be better? Obviously, if you could use her for farming, people would look at her a lot more favorably. She doesn't have to be the best unit for farming. It's just, I feel as though nowadays, especially as we're getting into like year 9 FGO over on JP, that it's almost expected that if you're a single or AoE servant, you gotta be able to provide something when it comes to 90+ and 90++ nodes for being able to farm. It's kind of just the way that they've pushed how servants should be designed. And so that's kind of the fault of Lysangle and kind of the power creep that DW's had going for the past couple of years. And then they passed that problem over to Lysangle. So, you know, I don't think it's Nikitich's fault, but I think she's good enough into CQ more difficult content that, you know, she can justify getting maybe up there in that B+. And if you don't think so, bump her down to B, and then just call it my own bias, right? Just call it my own bias. But with that being said, I'm feeling pretty good about the list. I really like how this kind of ended up. Rider is a very weird class because we started off with a lot of more bottom tier guys, but I don't know. I'll be looking forward to seeing what you guys think in the comments down below. Last year we did Riders. This was like the only one that people did not like, because last year they all went pretty well except for Rider. The Rider was the one that I'm like, oh man, I have a little bit of PTSD. Is this one gonna be bad as well? Is it the Rider curse? I don't really know, but let me know in the comments down below. I'll obviously provide this if you guys want to make your own tier list. And with that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace, late guys.